Well, we'll go ahead and get started so that we will be observant and kind with your time for being with us this morning. And like I said, if you're new to this and you want to communicate with the panelists, do so in the chat, and please click panelists only. But if you want to connect with the panelists and attendees, choose that option in the chat as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Kelly Reap with Methodist Family Health.
Thank you, Amy. And I just wanted to say, all the ladies that are on this webinar this morning are truly my heroes. They have done some incredible things throughout their lives, and props to you all. I am the Director of Communications at Methodist Family Health, and my colleagues are Christy Russell, who is a therapist in our school-based clinic in Jonesboro, and Amy Shores, who is our incredible, fabulous Director of Pastoral Care at Methodist Family Health. And I just want to say, neither one paid me to say either of those. That's absolutely the truth. I wanted to get started with Christy and say, Christy, what can we do as parents to make sure our kids are well overall? And by that, I mean mentally, physically, spiritually during this time of COVID.
I think one of the biggest things is our physical health definitely affects our mental health. And a lot of times we think that those are separate things, and they are not. And so I feel like that we really have to pay attention to what is our physical health. And so as the slide is up, one of the biggest things is exercise every single day is so important.
Yes.
And this is just a small thing. I use it with my 4-year-old, but I do it with him, and I get a workout. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm so sore because we just pick a name. And so we can pick his name or my name or Nina or Grin or somebody's name, and we do these exercises together. And that's something you can do in a 10 to 15 minute window, 5-minute window if that's all you have. So exercise is so important. It gets those endorphins going. It gets our body moving. It keeps us from just sitting down all day. Another thing is I hear parents say all the time, my kids eat all day long. I don't know what to do. And so that's part of the physical health too. And one of the fun things that I have seen parents do is get a little bucket of some sort, like from Dollar Tree or just something you have around the house, and put snacks for the day in that. And so you'll put like a fruit, a vegetable, maybe something salty, maybe something sweet. And here's your snack bucket. This is what you have all day long. How you choose to ration that is up to you. I'll feed you 3 meals a day, and then you have this. And that way they're not eating you out of house and home, but they're getting what they need. And you can kind of monitor that. And so they're not eating just junk all day. You know, there's an apple in their bucket. Now they might choose not to eat that, but it's in there. And then I think just open dialogue. You know, we all need to talk. I miss that interaction we all do right now with this COVID crisis. You know, even now, I wish we were in a room and we could see each other and talk in a panel, but we're online. And so we just need to be able to be open. The communication needs to be open. If you see something in your children, be open about that. And then, and I know Amy will speak more to this, but most of the churches are doing online church. Continue to connect, continue to do those things. I know personally for me, even my small group at church is doing like a weekly Zoom meeting, and I attend those. Continuing to stay connected is so important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that you were talking about staying connected, because a friend of mine is a youth minister for her church, and she says every week they have game night. And she said there's like 20 kids, and they said they all love it. So they have invited their parents to be part of it as well. And so, you know, it might not be the parents' bag, but the kids love it. So the fact that the kids love it, the parents join, and it's some time that they have together.
Yes.
So, well, how do I give my kids the attention they need when I'm trying to get my work done?
So I am a very visual learner, and most children are. And so one of the biggest things for me is something visual, so a schedule. And this can work for big kids, little kids, all the kids. Maybe a dry erase board, something up so that you can put in there, okay, I work from 9 to 10, and then I have a 10-minute break, and we're going to do an exercise then. And then I'm going to work from 10 to 12, and then at 12 we're going to have lunch. We're going to sit down together. And I think letting them know when your breaks are, so that it's not constant. When they come in, you can say, I'm working, but look at the schedule, and it'll be in just a few minutes we'll get to speak, those sorts of things. And I think we have to be easy on ourselves, mom guilt and dad guilt, it comes in big time. We put that on ourselves, and we think, oh, I'm such a terrible person. But you're not a terrible person. It's okay to have a schedule, and it's okay to work. We all have to do that, especially in the middle of these pandemics. The ones of us who are still working, we're thankful to have a job, and so we have to keep that going.
Right.
And another thing is just having a purpose in your day. And so planning a themed dinner, that was one of the slides that I had, or having things to talk about. So if you're sitting around the table and having dinner, and I would highly recommend a dinner at the table at least 1 to 2 nights a week. At my house, it's every night, but just whatever you can make work in your schedule. And ask questions. So tell me the best thing about your day today. What was the best thing you did? Tell me, if you could be anybody, if you could be anything, what would you want to be today? If you had a superpower, what would your superpower be? Just conversation starters. And you can tailor those to kids and teens and, littles and bigs, and everyone can get involved in that. And another thing is, plan a theme. So maybe Tuesday night of this week is Color Wars. And so everybody wears their color, and whoever has the most color on their body is going to get a special treat, or they get to pick the next night or something. So head to toe, I'm going to be green, and so I'm going to wear a green hat and a green shirt and pants and socks, and whoever has the most of those colors. Just super simple things, and even like a family show and tell, and that gives kids something to look forward to. So when you say, oh, I'm working, I can't, but tonight we get to do this, you can remind them of those things, and so that way you don't feel like a bad parent, and they have something to look forward to.
I want to come to dinner at your house. That sounds so much fun. And you can also say, but if you have the most green on tonight, you win a prize. So go find as much green as you can, or that kind of. I want to do all of those things. That sounds like so much fun. One of the folks that's attending said, maybe I need to set out a snack bucket for myself. And I was wondering if that would work whatsoever. I'm afraid I'd eat all my snacks all at the same time. So, Chris, and I'm going to ask Amy Shores this too. So what can I do to help prevent or lessen the anxiety or depression that my kids are feeling? If you're home and maybe it's just you and your child, and mom or dad's working, and the child has to entertain himself for a while. After a while, I would imagine that would make, what am I going to do? So how do you manage that as a parent?
I think, again, the purposeful communication. So making sure the time that you have is very meaningful. And that's a hard balance for parents, because we need a minute too. My best part of the day sometimes is just going in the bathroom and shutting the door for 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Because I need a minute. But I think that during these difficult times, it's so important that every moment of our day is meaningful. It is intentional. It is purposeful. And so just making sure that you make the most of your time, that, if you need a minute, say, you know what, this break, Mommy needs to go do something, so I'm going to go take a walk. Why don't you come with me? You don't have to, but if you want to, I'd love for you to join me. And that gets everybody going in fresh air. And another thing, for me and for a lot of my kids, I spoke to one of my clients yesterday, and as this pandemic goes on and on, the anxiety is building. It's getting stronger and it's getting harder. And that was her thing. She was like, Miss Christy, in the beginning, I was fine, but we're at almost 2 months now. out, and I'm really freaking out. Are we going to be okay? And so I think sharing the facts about everything, Kelly, you are so great about helping us with this. Kelly watches the governor's speech every day, and then she puts the statistics on our company Facebook page for us, the employees. And that is so helpful. And that is something I share with my kids who have anxiety. Hey, listen, there's only 30 new cases today. We're on the downhill. Or, yes, we're climbing, but out of our whole state, this is the number. That's so few, and just share, be honest about things. Recently, my town experienced a tornado. Ripped through our town. It was an F3, and it ripped through my home. And so I just got moved back in this past weekend, and on Sunday we had a storm. An immediate panic went over my body, and I thought, I'm gonna lose my house, and I just got back in. And so I picked up my phone and I turned on the weather app, and I listened to my meteorologist, and he said there's no rotation, there's no straight line winds, and I calmed down immediately. And I think that we all need that. I think that the kids need that, teenagers need that, small children need that. Okay, this is what's happening, and I'm going to tell you honestly what's happening, and here are the facts about it. The facts are, in our town here, we've had 3 deaths out of 70,000 people. That's amazing. And just sharing those things honestly with them, I think would be so helpful.
Yeah, those are all great points. And, to give them the power to, and say, here are the things that you can do. You're helping in this as well. That's great counsel. Amy Shores, what do you say about that from a spiritual standpoint?
Yeah, if we can go on to the next slide, I wanted to talk just a little bit about protective factors in children and protective factors in youth, and kind of what we can do to help them, just in general with their mental health, along, with pandemic stuff. So, with kids, I think some of the things that we can kind of hone in on are making sure that they have, like Christy said, that consistent home and family routine is really important. So making sure that every day we're kind of, have some kind of routine going. And of course, that's hard right now, but it's vital that we, put some things in place that they know that they can expect every day. Because, to help with anxiety, it's good to know like what the expectations are, for the day. And if they're going to change, that we go ahead and put that out too. Healthy practices, so making sure that, like they're getting outside, they're eating, more than just junk, they're, walking around, getting, exercising, doing all those things. High self-esteem is a really important protective factor in kids. So reminding them about what's good about them, because, when they're feeling so anxious or depressed or just kind of worried about what all's around them, it's hard for them to just kind of go down that rabbit hole of internalizing all that. And so just really reminding them, this is what I saw you do today. That was so great. And that can maybe hopefully even be a motivator, as we're finishing up the school year. I know there's a lot of kids that are just getting to the point where they just don't want to do it anymore. It's hard. It's not what they're used to, and they're just kind of done. And so reminding them like, you did such a good job getting your work done yesterday, and just kind of making sure that we continue to praise them. And then finally, good problem solving skills. So helping, equip kids to, solve the problems on their own. So we're going to give them, kind of like Christy was saying, we'll give them the pertinent information, but then give them a little bit of control, a little bit of power to make appropriate age level decisions, and kind of think through, here's a couple of options, kind of picking those. And then when we move into teenagers, obviously they need all of these things as well, but then there's also some protective factors in youth. And those can include things like spirituality. So again, making sure that they're doing the things like gratitude list, having a way to pray through their concerns, pointing them to hope, keeping them in their spiritual routines, letting them connect with their youth group, or, do their devotional, things like that, encouraging just spiritual growth, because it is so closely related to mental and emotional health. Making sure that we know what's going on with the youth. So monitoring youth is different now. Before monitoring of youth, we would have to worry about maybe where they physically are. Now they might be, we know where they physically are, but it's still important that we kind of keep a handle on what they're doing, how they're spending their time, who they're interacting with, those things. And then parental familial support is another kind of proven protective factor. So again, just making sure that those young people feel supported. They know that we're with them, we're for them, we're there to support them and help them work through things. Constructive recreation is also a really important protective factor. And while a lot of them have lost their constructive recreation outlets, right? And so if they're used to playing baseball or dancing, or, they're on the soccer team, we all know that, not only does it provide exercise, but it provides, community bonding, it provides friendships, it provides, adult mentorship. And so if they've lost that during this time, it's important to see what we can do to help them find constructive recreation in other ways. And so whether that be like, we as a family are all going to go play soccer tonight in the yard, or again, like Christy mentioned, hooking up with the youth group to play games. It's not going to be the exact same thing maybe, but letting them, I know some places are like still doing their dance classes online, or, so encouraging them to still participate, even though it's not exactly what they're used to, there's still benefit in those things. And so encouraging them to have those hobbies, to be active, to do those things. And then finally, the number one protective factor to helping decrease anxiety and depression in young people is that relationship to feeling close to at least one adult. And so that's, and it can be a parent, but it doesn't have to be. And so for those of us who are parents, this is a really good place to step in and be the one person that the young person can feel close to. But I know a lot of youth ministers, clergy, things like that, we might have young people in our congregations and our youth groups that don't have that close relationship with their parent. And so making sure that we're still continuing to give them that benefit of feeling close to at least one adult when we can't be physically close. So we're checking in on them, we're letting them know that we're still here to talk, they can still reach out to us. We're still concerned about what's going on with them, even though we can't be together physically.
So, Amy, I think that's a wonderful point that you made, and that's something that we hear from the children in our care talk about. It's like, as long as one adult I know cares about me, then I can go on. So what are some of the ways that, can you expand a little bit on that? What are some of the ways that if I'm a youth leader, or I'm a minister or a pastor, or just, someone, a friend in the neighborhood or whatever, how can I reach out to youth, to teenagers, and make sure that they're feeling okay? Yeah,
I think that it's important that we kind of know who our target is. And so if if we're a youth minister that has 50 kids in our youth group or 50 people in our congregation, we need to be aware of these are the ones that are probably going to need extra attention right now, because if there's a lot that have that parental support at home, it's going to be really hard for us to connect in this way virtually with every kid, right? And so we need to be aware of the ones that need it the most. And then I think we can do things, we text them, we call them, and it's important that we ask, questions that lead to discussion. And so we have to ask those open-ended questions and ask them, tell me about a time when maybe this happened, or how has this been? And then just really be curious and like continue to ask those questions and to show concern. And then also I think it's important that we not give up, because we may call one day and everything seems okay, and we're just like, well, they don't want to talk at all. But then we still, the next day we may call and get a totally different, situation. I know it's like that, with our mom and stepdaughter at home. So there's some days where we'll ask a question and just get 2 words, and then out of the blue, 5 minutes, or like the next day, it'll just be, just going on for like 30 minutes, and it's just, we did the same thing. It's just up to where they are, how they're feeling. So
those are all great points. It's like, just keep trying.
Mhm.
You know, it's not a, this will lead to this, will lead to this. You just got to
Right.
keep going through, keep trying. Excellent. So here we go. You did an excellent segue. My teen does not want to engage. What can I do? So Christy, what would you think?
Yes, so my population I serve is teenagers, and so I'm quite familiar. The ages that we serve in my program is 7 to 12 grade, 7 to 12, and so I have learned a lot from these wonderful kids. They are hard, and so I think as parents, remind yourself, teenagers are hard. They're hard on you, but they're hard on them too. They're trying to figure out who their friends are. They're trying to figure out how to get school done. They're trying to figure out how to be social and how not to be social and who to choose.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult. Teenagers are so hard. Depression, anxiety sets in. And so I think just reminding yourself, okay, this is a hard time anyway, and then we're adding COVID. So if we make it through the day and everybody's relatively okay, we've done a good job.
Yeah.
And this is an A+. So as a parent, reminding yourself, okay, everybody's alive, they're in their beds, and they had food today, we're good. You know, every day is not a great day, but we made it. We made
Right.
it. And so reminding yourself that scheduling fun things for them to do. Family game nights can be very challenging with teenagers because, oh, it's stupid, it's boring. You know, we get all of that feedback from them. Let them choose a game, you know, put on your best 80s clothes that you used to wear and let them make fun of you. Have a disco night and just let it be funny, you know. Pick a game that they like, even if you are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm playing this. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of kids like to play Never Have I Ever or Would You Rather, and those are great conversation starter games. Those are great games. They're funny and you can laugh, but you can also start conversations in those. And so if you're having a Would You Rather do this or this, and they say this, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Can you explain that? And then that engages them. I think another thing is, you know, in this world of isolation, we still crave human interaction. We need it. It's so important. Socialization is the #1 factor in reducing anxiety, in my opinion. And so I think being careful is good. You know, we almost all of us have a mask that we can wear now. The mask, just a sidebar, this is free. The mask needs to cover your nose and your mouth. That's a little pet peeve of mine. When I go to the store and people have their mask down here, I'm like, no. It needs to cover your nose and your mouth. Get your mask
Down
on.
here, like, that doesn't help.
Yes, mine too. Get your mask on and drive by their friend's house. Honk and wave. Let the friend's parents know, hey, my kid needs to see your kid for a minute. Can we just drive by? You have them in a lawn chair 6 feet away. We're going to stay in the car and we're going to let them talk for a minute. Are you cool with that? I've done that as an adult. I've done that. I went to one of my friend's house. She had a new baby and I needed to see that baby.
Yes.
So
yeah.
She had a lawn chair. I brought my own lawn chair. We wore a mask. We sat 8 feet apart, not even 6. And we just talked, and it was so nice. Now, I would not recommend large groups, you know, just 1 or 2 people. Let them still see their friends, though. And then another thing with teens is they're playing video games. They just are, most of them, especially the boys. Encourage them to connect on live, you know, if they're already playing video games. Hey, doesn't your friend from school, Jacob, play that video game? Why don't y'all chat while you're doing this? I've done that with several of my kids just in counseling sessions. Hey, did you chat with any of your friends while you were playing that game? Well, no. Well, why don't you try it? And then if they do, they're like, yeah, that was cool. And they have a better day because they've talked to somebody. And then another thing is, when I know that my kid, I call them my kids, all of them are my kids, but when my therapy kids are depressed, I say, hey, you know what? You seem sad today. Is something going on? You're not yourself. You seem different. It's okay to point that out. And I think that they feel compassion when I do that. They're like, yeah, I do feel or they might get defensive, and that's okay. Then say, oh, okay, well, I just thought I saw something, but maybe not, it's fine,
Yeah.
just brush it off. But they may open up and they may talk to you about it, and they may say, yes, I am feeling that way, and it makes them feel so good that you noticed. And so we think in our culture, in our society, mental health is such a taboo. It's not. We need to talk about it. We need to let it out. We need to make sure that we are aware and open. So it's okay to say to your children, you seem depressed. Can I do something? Are you sad? Do you need me? Do you need more time? Maybe I can take a day off work and we can go to the state park and not touch any playground equipment and not see anybody, but, walk around and feed the ducks. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have a friend who has a son who's a senior this year. And yesterday in Central Arkansas, it was the perfect day. It was like, mid 70s, lots of breeze, beautiful blue skies, sunshine. And she goes, come on, let's go outside. Let's go do something. Let's enjoy this day. He goes, I went outside yesterday. And so I thought, well, as you were talking about that, they're just going to play video games. Sometimes you got to boot them outside, but sometimes you just got to let them, do what they're going to do. So, yes. Amy Shores, what do you say on a spiritual level about engaging your child, or specifically a teen?
Yeah, I think just encouraging them to continue whatever the things that are important to them, right? And so, that's kind of spirituality. We know that as kids, advance in their teen years, they're going to start making those own decisions about what they believe, and and maybe it's the same as mom and dad, or maybe it's not. But just giving them that space to work through that. And so, talking, asking them questions. If they don't want to, if they don't want to go to church, is it because, church is at 9 a.m. and so that's when we have to get up and watch it on Facebook, or is it just because they're not interested at all? And so finding out, how they're feeling, giving them space to feel that, but also encouraging them to find those answers. So if this isn't what you want to do, that's fine. Is there, what would you like to do? And kind of giving them that space to make those decisions and give them that sense of control.
To your point, keep trying. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I, and I want to know the answers to this myself. How do I give the answers to my kids when I don't have them myself? So if my kids are asking, when is this going to be over? Are we going to be okay? Just like what you were saying before, Christy. You know what? I really don't know. So how do you manage that?
I think it's okay to be honest and say, I really don't know, but here's what we can do in the meantime. They are predicting maybe schools will open up in August and everything will be normal, but they're also predicting that we may have a second wave in, October, November when the flu comes back. It's okay to say those things. It's okay to say what I know right now is our governor has opened up some things as of Monday, and then he's opening more things in 2 weeks. And just tell them, this is what's opening, and tell them the risk factors. Amy's talked a lot about risk factors. So when these things open, we can go and we can try to do some of these things, but here are the risks involved. We can protect ourselves. We cannot touch people. We cannot use the public restrooms. We can wear our mask. We can not handshake, high five, hug. We can virtual, do things from a distance. And so just letting them Amy has talked a lot about their own choice. Let them choose, if they're old enough to choose, should we go these places? Let's talk about why we could and why we could not, and what could happen if we do and what could happen if we don't. And let's outweigh the risk and see if should we go and do these things as stuff open up. And I think it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to research and I'll get back with you. I think it's more detrimental to say, why are you talking about that, or I don't care, than it is to say, I don't know. It is okay that you do not have all the answers. It is okay that we don't know. And so I think it's okay to say, I'm going to look that up and I'm going to find the answer and I'm going to come back to you. And it's also okay to say, this is an uncertain time. This is something that we've not ever been through before. This is something that everyone's trying to navigate. But you know what? We have great leaders. We have a great governor, and we have great people of the CDC, and we have great doctors in Arkansas who are helping lead our governor. And they can research some of the statistics behind these people, these leaders that we have right now. And, if they're old enough, and just let them know, these are the people that are guiding us, and we're going to trust them, and we're going to make the most of it. And with me, with my 4-year-old, when you have littles, the ones who have littles, I just tell him, honey, I don't know, but when it's time, mommy will let you know, and we will do those things. And we talk about what he wants to do, and we draw pictures of what he wants to do and what he misses. And so when he can go back to, and we have a local place called Hijinks, and it's full of slides and a ball pit and all this stuff, and he loves to go there. And so we've drawn a million pictures of Hijinks because that's where he wants to go. That's in his mind, that's it. And so even with littles, what do you want to do when it does open back up? When everybody's better, what do you want to do? And let's talk about that. And that kind of engages them too.
Yeah. I kind of want to go to Hijinks now myself.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I think, I was just gonna say, I think Christy was kind of saying the same thing, but it's so important that we point them to hope, to know that there is hope and things are gonna get better. And yeah, we may not know when that is, but at some point, yes, you're gonna get to be with your friends, and yes, we're gonna go get to do these things, and just making sure, that we don't lose hope ourselves, because some days, it's hard. I mean, we were talking about earlier, we don't know when this is gonna be over. And so sometimes, it makes it hard for us to keep hope. And so making sure that we continue to encourage hope, in our kids. I also think it's really important, or really kind of interesting, that a lot of kids and young people don't, just because their perspective is different than ours, they don't know that this is not something that we've never been through before.
That's a great.
And so so they don't really, I even asked my mom, have you ever been through anything like this? And I kind of knew that she hadn't been, but it was just it's just hard, you don't really understand, so you're looking for someone who has been through this to tell you about how it's supposed to go, and none of us have.
Right.
So I think it's important that, we can explain that, to the older kids, to the young adults and the teenagers, we haven't been through this either, so we don't really know.
Right.
And like Christy said, that's okay.
Something from a communications standpoint is turn off the news. Don't have the news on all the time. Monitor what they're watching on TV, on iPads, on those kinds of things. It's not good to have that constantly, because what the news does, and that's their job, is to want you to pay attention, to make you aware. So they heighten the adrenaline, and it's all caps, blah, blah, blah. That's not good for your mental or spiritual health. So turn the TV off. It's saying the exact same thing over and over. You're going to be able to catch that. I told my boss on Monday, and I said, turn off CNN, get out of the house, go, do these things. And she was like, I did it, finally today, and I feel a whole lot better. So I just add that, because you wouldn't think, you think, oh, I'm being informed, I'm being educated, and I'm staying current on all these things, when really it's kind of a low grade, insidious thing that's affecting you. So if it's affecting you, it's probably affecting your children as well. So that's the one thing I can add to this whole. All right. So another question, and this is kind of a situation from Melinda Shunk, who is with the conference. And she said, and it's an excellent one because we're all grappling with it. How do we help those kids and youth and teens who are on the fringes, the ones who, we're relying on school for 2 meals a day, who, may not have transportation to go to the store and get something, or go to a friend's house? How do we help them mentally, physically, and spiritually when they were kind of uncertain to begin with, and now adding on top daily change? How do we reach out to them, and how do we make sure that they're okay?
One of the things that our school district does, and I love that we can do this, they provide meals every day still, Monday through Friday. Meals are still provided at the school. It's a drive-by. You stay in your car. They come to your car with a bag of stuff. It's 2 meals per child. And sometimes, if we don't have transportation, the kids could walk there and get that themselves.
Yeah.
You could pick it up for them. You could go to the line and say, hey, I'm the youth pastor of this church. I know that these kids attend this school and they need food. Can I get their meals and I'll take it right to them? And they'll let you do that. And that's a great thing.
That's excellent. I didn't know that was an option. I'm glad to hear that.
It is here in Jonesboro. So I would encourage everyone to call their local school district and just say, hey, are you providing meals? Another thing, during spring break, some of our kids in my program personally, and I'm school-based, they called one of my case managers and said, hey, we don't have food for this week. I don't know what we're going to do. And so she called me and she's like, Christy, what can we do? And so I first called that school principal and I said, hey, does the backpack program have any food? Well, we couldn't get into the schools because of the COVID. We had to shut down for 14 days, nobody in, nobody out. And so he said, but there is one of my best friends owns a restaurant. Call her. Here's her number. Tell her that I told you to call her, ask her what she can do. And she loaded them up. She gave them gallons of milk, dozens of eggs, bread. She owns a pizza place, and so she gave them pans of pasta, breadsticks. So reaching out to local resources, just incredible. Like, the kindness I have seen has been amazing. And I think just asking. Yeah,
that's it. Just reaching out, you don't know who knows whom.
Yes.
And it's like, this person can serve as a drop off. This person can serve as a,
yes.
A supplier, all of that thing. That's excellent. Amy, what would you say? What, in your experience?
Yeah. And I reached out to some other people because this is a hard question, honestly. But some of the ideas that I got back were putting like together some coping packets. So things with like Play-Doh, coloring sheets, snacks, like printed devotional materials to kind of help with emotional and spiritual health, and maybe using like your food pantry to distribute those as well. And so any place where food is being given out to families, have some little coping packets for the kids, for things that they can use to kind of help with their emotional and their spiritual health as well. Also, if there's any churches that are already doing some apartment ministry, I know lots of churches kind of partner with apartments and do some outreach and some care in those situations. Dropping off coping packets for the kids, for the young adults there, either just kind of leaving them in the office, letting them know that they're there so that they can come, pick up those packets as wanted and as needed. I think, like you guys were saying, keeping updated information about what community resources are available, and also distributing that along with the food pantry, putting graphics out online if you have online connections to these people. But, that information is changing, what's available in different communities. And so just making sure that you're aware of that so that when you are contacted, you're able to connect those people. And then another idea was some cooperative art projects to where maybe, it's a way to keep everyone connected. We send out a little piece that everyone does. And at some point you bring it back and then you can share pictures or, post it where everyone can see it if it's an outdoor thing. But, kind of be creative and find ways that they can all participate safely at home, but then it's all parts of a whole, and bring it together where they can all see it. Could kind of help just emotionally and spiritually with that connection, helping them feel connected to one another.
What would you say about your kids or teens writing notes and putting in coping packets? Just kind of hey, I'm thinking about you, and maybe they could write one back. I see that old-fashioned pen pals are coming back, and that might be where you could reach out to.
I mean, and I think that's good for every, all age levels, whether it's, little ones like kind of writing just the couple sentences that they can. I mean, even us reaching out to our homebound members like that, our older adults who weren't able to get out before this anyway, or those who are most vulnerable right now, encouraging maybe young people to write them letters, just within your congregation. You might know, Miss So-and-so, she sits a few rows down from us at church typically. Why don't we write her a letter and just let her know that we're thinking about her? So,
well, they could draw a picture, they could create the card or whatever. And that person then would have something to look forward to. And, you could base that on a ministry saying, you're helping your neighbor and also help yourself and those kinds of things. Something that we do at Methodist, we call it the Get Up and Give closet. It's our Lenten collection, where we store all of the items that we need for our kids. And one of the things that our kids go through like crazy is deodorant. And so, and one of the reasons why is we provide deodorant to each of the children that come into our Methodist Behavioral Hospital. And so they can be there from anywhere from like 3 to 7 days. So when they go, more come in and we hand that out. It would be interesting too, for children to understand, okay, you're going through these things and you have these items. There are some kids who don't. And so maybe they could create their own care packages and provide those in their community through their church. No, not through something big like us, but just one-on-one.
Right.
No who needs it in their community. Again, to Christy's point, sharing resources.
Right. And I know a lot of communities have, like the sharing fridge or the sharing pantries where, people can come kind of, drop off and pick up as needed. So making sure that those are being attended to. Mm-hmm.
It always makes me happy when I see, the little libraries, the little pantries in communities. It's very sweet. So
one of the things that we have done too around here is like for us as therapists, if we can't get a hold of our kids, we'll call the school and we'll say, hey, we haven't touched base, have you? Because we have release of information and we can do that, and so we can talk to the school, being school based, and if we haven't gone in contact with the kid and maybe they have, then they can say, oh, we tried this number and it worked. So because phones are getting shut off and turned back on and different things, and also if we haven't gotten in contact and they haven't either, somebody will go do a home visit, and so somebody will go wear their mask, knock on the door, stand back 6 feet and wait for them to come and just say, hey, are you okay? We just wanted to see your face to know you're fine. And home visits need to be very slim. We can't go to everyone's home. We have to be careful, but for those kids we have had no contact with in 2 months, we need to know they're safe. We need to know they're okay, especially if there were risk factors prior to this. And so I think reaching out to the school, if you can, with confidentiality and different things, just be mindful of that. But as a community member, if you're used to seeing this kid at church and on Facebook and all these things, call the youth pastor, hey, have you talked to so-and-so? Because I haven't seen any posts or anything. And then if they say, well, I haven't, then maybe someone can go personally check.
So those are all excellent points. In the very beginning of this, at Methodist, we asked for our community to create masks, make homemade masks, and send those in for help. And then we also asked if they would write notes of encouragement to our children in our residential programs. And we were inundated. I mean, it just blew our minds. And so what that made me think was people are looking for ways to help others, but using their specific gifts. So maybe it's not, collecting and making packages, but maybe it is writing, a note, or maybe it is creating a picture, or maybe it is, calling someone and singing over the phone or whatever. But as, if you can incorporate that with your family, you're taking care of all the multiple levels that you have pointed out earlier, Christy. So those are all excellent points that you all have made. So Amy, Ezell, have we gotten any questions or comments that we need to address?
So Nan, I think, shared that they have a youth in their church, and she wanted to reach out to the congregation because she has missed them. And anyway, they did a video, and I think that's a wonderful, nothing like a handwritten letter, nothing like getting something in the mail, but also the power of the cell phone of doing a video and being able to send to someone who also has a smartphone or an email is a great idea, Nan. Thank you. So yeah, getting some really good ideas, and yeah.
I like that too. They were just thinking of me, and I got to see their faces.
Yes. And Nan makes another good point that that the children and young people miss being in church. They miss the people, and they miss the place of the worship. And so anyway, videos have worked well for them.
Mm-hmm. That's
anyway,
great.
Does anyone else have any questions for Amy Shores or for Christy Russell? Please type them now, if you would, or any suggestions. We appreciate everyone being on today. And Christy, this has been so helpful. And I have to also say that the series as a whole, this is wrapping up a 3-part series between the Arkansas Conference of the United Methodist Church and Methodist Family Health, and it has been wonderful. I have learned something from each different therapist who we have gotten the pleasure and the honor to visit with each week. And so I think it's been awesome that we've had something that has been for all ages. We've covered self-care, so important in all 3 of them. We've talked about self-care and the importance of that so that we can be good mentors, parents, leaders for children. And then we've talked about, ministering to children of all ages and young people, as we've been calling them. So this has been great. So
and to that point, Amy, what we'd like to know is, what would the folks watching be interested in learning more about? What do they have questions about, and what would they like to know more? Because what we can do then is take those back, get some answers, get some solutions, and then come back and say, here's what we understand, here's what and then maybe others would have solutions as well. And
absolutely. Absolutely. So what you all can expect is that when you entered this webinar, attendees, you provided an email address. And so after the webinar today, we will take all of the email addresses from all 3 weeks, and we will reach out to everyone who attended one of the webinars. And we will be asking, what can we do for you next? What else do you need from us, from Methodist Family Health? What can we do for you? Because that's what this is for. This is not just, as much as we would love it, Kelly, I love hanging out with you every Thursday morning, and Amy, but this is a ministry. And so we want to know, what can we do next? So, so all attendees can expect an email soon that will be coming from us to ask what can we do. Also, I want to let you know that yes, and Jacob has acknowledged that. Jacob is our producer. But all of the webinars that have happened, not today's yet, it'll take a little bit for it to get uploaded or downloaded and then uploaded, but they can be found on the Arkansas United Methodist Conference website under webinars. And so they have been put into YouTube links. So you can watch the webinar as a whole. know also for church leaders or for any of your therapists, that these will also be broken down into, we are so blessed that we have a partnership with the Methodist Foundation of Arkansas, and we have an online learning system called Course. And so each of these webinars will also be broken down into courses that someone can use to actually learn more, where we stop, we take a pause in between sections, and we ask questions to be able to reinforce the study and the outline. But so there are two options for seeing the previous webinars and being able to see this webinar. The courses take a little bit longer to get online, but the webinars as a whole from the past 2 weeks are already on our website. And I think Jacob has put the link there in the comments, and super easy. It's just clicking and you're up. So anyway, yes, we're trying to make this available and easy for all who need to have access to this super valuable information.
Amy, you made an excellent point about this being a ministry, and that's how Methodist Family Health began, was a ministry of the Methodist Church way back in 1899. And so our mission is to provide the best possible care to those who may need it. So if anybody in virtual webinar land, anybody that's watching us, any of the churches want to reach out to us and have maybe a webinar of their own, just between us, or a conversation, or, you know, I have a child that I'm struggling with, whomever, please call us. You can call me at 501-766-1260. Or you can email info@methodistfamily.org. We're happy to do this for you, and that's our job, is to be partners with you and to reach out to you. The fact that the conference has, this was your brainchild and asked us to do this, we are blown away. It was a huge blessing to us. And so this has opened up so many more opportunities for us, and we can't thank you enough. So we want to do this with you as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Well, if there are, Jacob has posted website. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everyone, for all of your kind words and encouragement. And we just thank Christy for taking the time away from that sweet 4-year-old and all of your people, all of your students, your clients, to be a part of this today with us. And Amy Shores has just been such a blessing in creating this whole webinar series, and we are so grateful for all of the ministry and your calling. And Kelly, thank you just for making this happen. We appreciate you so much for being the hands and feet, for sure. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and shut it down today. We'll be reaching out soon via email to see what you would like for us to be able to provide next. So thank you all so much. God's richest blessings upon all of you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.